So it looks like I'm alive. Hi, good evening, everyone. As some of you might know, or some of you might not know, my name is Nick Sikalis, and I think it's about time for another market update. The reason I picked this time is because of the latest news that came out from MLS and the current environment that we're living in right now. It's kind of a little bit of a crazy environment that we're in as far as the real estate world's concerned. We have a very how I will say um, different type of situation from anybody could have predicted a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 5 months ago, whatever you want to call it, like you name it. I'm sure anybody that made any predictions in the beginning of this year did not make the predictions that we were going to have a insane seller's market, and that's basically where we're at right now. We have a very strong seller's market, and the article just came out from Newsday, reporting on everything. It was written by Maura McDermott, a very good senior writer over on Newsday, and I tend to like everything that she writes. And I'm reading through everything, and I figured while I'm doing that, I might as well share the news with everybody. And I'll just read the headline: Long Island homes jump, setting record in Suffolk. I could end the video with just that. We're actually setting records right now. And it is a very simple situation of real estate economics 101. And it's all about supply and demand. And right now, this is your supply, this is your demand. We're like this. We're really like this. Like there's no balance whatsoever, and it's a little frustrating for actually very frustrating for a lot of the buyers out there because they've been trying to get themselves into a home, and in many cases they're getting outbid, and in many cases they're actually losing out in bidding wars. We're talking about a really crazy scenario, a scenario that I don't believe anybody could have even predicted we were going to be in. I mean, we're talking about this is crazy stuff. And let me just start with the Suffolk County situation. Homes in Suffolk County sold for a median price of 464,375 last month, up 13%. 13% compared with a year earlier. One Key MLS, the multiple listing service that include this scale came from One Key multiple listing service. Okay, 13% year over year, and this is reporting on September. We're in October right now, and I'll tell you something because I'm working um, the island in Suffolk, Nassau. I'm doing a lot of Queens as well. Nothing has changed from when this data was collected till today. And the reason I say that is because usually by the time you hear it come out in the news, we're already on to the next stage, and we are definitely. Uh, I could actually say that we're not necessarily um, doing the same. We're actually getting a little bit more rapid as far as the buyer demand. The inventory continues to deplete. The homes on the market are just not enough for the amount of buyers that are out there. And this all comes down to that escape from New York mentality. I've talked about this in the past. It is definitely a real thing, and it will continue to be a definite factor in this market. And until that dissipates, until you see um, somehow the market balance correcting itself a little bit, we are going to have a scenario of heavy imbalance. I'm going to read a little bit from this article, and I just want to make sure that um, everybody understands what's going on. I just talked about 13% jump in Suffolk County, and by the way, that is a record high. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. In Nassau County, the median price increased year over year 9.3%. So it's not like Suffolk County; it's an anomaly in itself. 9.3% is a percentage change not to sneeze at. Now, the median house in Nassau County is 590, which is significantly higher than what it is in Suffolk County, and that's always been the case. Um, Again, this all came from multiple listing. September marked the second month in a row that Suffolk sales prices have set new records. So this is an ongoing trend with Suffolk County. And I'll tell you, there's certain towns in Suffolk County that are a lot hotter than others. Go to Dick Hills and try to get a house under $1 million. See what happens. You're in a bidding war, and there's lines out the door trying to get in. It's just the way it is. In August, homes in Suffolk traded for a median price of 956. Sorry, 456, and the Nassau prices set a record last month. So we're a little bit behind on our records. We're swapping records with Nassau and Suffolk County. I wonder if we're going to hit a record simultaneously at one point in the month. Last month, the record was 595 in Suffolk. The number of sales jumped annually by 18% in Suffolk County and 16% in Nassau last month. You know what that is? 18% and 16% in the month of September. That's absolutely bonkers. Usually, September is the time where things start to kind of slow down. Schools start. People that were heavily aggressive into buying places that maybe had kids that are about to go to school or heading to school are already kind of put in their place right now, or if they haven't found a place, they tend to kind of slow down and pick up the pace again in September and in the spring looking again. This is not normal. And one of the major reasons why it's not normal is because we were in lockdown for about 4 months, a solid 4 months, where a lot of buyers just didn't go out and didn't purchase the place or did not go out looking. And you had a lot of buyers that did not feel comfortable about buying a home virtually without actually walking through it. And once the curtain opened up, once the lockdown was released, the buyers came out in full. And the thing was, a lot of the sellers had taken their houses off the market at that point. They weren't quite sure if they still wanted to continue selling homes, and they didn't know if there was even a market for their homes at that point. A lot of people did not know what they were getting into, and they did not know if they were basically going to be looking at a major crash in the market. They didn't know if they were going to be um, in a like limbo state with the real estate market where everything just flatlined. Nobody knew anything. I'll tell you something. From my understanding, while I was getting a pulse of what the buyers were saying during lockdown, I knew there was going to be a demand, being because of the lack of homes. I knew there was going to be a pent up rush. I didn't know how long it was, and this was in previous videos of mine. I didn't know if it was going to last for a few weeks after lockdown lifted. I didn't know if it was going to last for a couple months. I didn't know if it was going to last for a year or half a year or whatever the case is, but I knew there was going to be a rush of buyers that have urgency and had a need to purchase that just couldn't at that time. And I just didn't know how long. Little did I know, we're in October and the demand has not lessened. It actually has rapidly increased month over month. Now, there's things that could change uh, the landscape of the real estate world, especially here in Long Island. And by the way, this is not just Long Island that's seeing these kind of jumps. We're looking at specifically Long Island because we do have that escape from New York City mentality, but you also have upstate New York that's seeing a very similar type of jump. You're seeing states that are surrounding us that are seeing a similar type of jump, and that is all coming and stemming from the situation we have in New York City right now. What's the situation that we have in New York City right now? Well, if you've been living in a bubble and don't really realize what's happening, I'll give you a little summary. A little thing called coronavirus came in and was declared a pandemic. It was a global uh, pandemic that scared a lot of people, especially people that are in the major metro. And by all means, they should have been scared because we did not know what this disease was all about. We didn't know how bad it was. We didn't know how to basically deal with it. And we were not equipped to deal with it. Um, you could do the blame game of whose fault it was or whatever the case is of why we weren't equipped or whatever the case is. But the truth be said, we haven't had something like this pass by us in years. And the state, the government, the country, the Fed decided to um, mandate a um, order of locking down of lockdown for states. Now, each individual state took the different procedures of how to be able to do it. It was in different phases. It all depending on what kind of congestion that individual city had, and when you're in a major metro like New York City, you have a lot of people, and they took very, very strict measures in order to uh, try to combat this pandemic. Now, what happened was due to lockdowns, you had many businesses that shut down. Many of them have not reopened as of yet. Some of them will never reopen. Eateries, restaurants, uh, had very limited accessibility in order to go and get food. Yeah, in some cases it was only delivery. Now just now after months they opened it up a little bit, just a little wedge, just a little wedge of 25% occupancy factor with 6 feet distance between tables and etc. etc. I'm not going to get into the whole phases and how it's working. That's for another video altogether. I'm just giving you a brief summary. Uh, Many of the businesses and many of the professionals that would go into the city on a daily basis to go to work, they started working virtually. So they decided that I don't really have to be in the city, or in some cases, their businesses told them, you know what, you can work remotely indefinitely, or you could work partially out of your home and only come in a day or two in a week or whatever the case is. They had a lot of other options. So now that necessity to have to come into the city for some of the professionals is no longer there. A lot of the luxuries and a lot of the benefits of living in the city are no longer there. If you can't go enjoy the restaurants, if you can't enjoy the plays, the theaters, Times Square is closed. Broadway's closed, the museums, all these great things that our city had to offer are no longer accessible. So, what does that mean? The people that are living there no longer really need to live there because they're not benefiting from it anymore. That coupled with the fact that they do have a phobia, a lot of people are generally panicked and they're really afraid, and I don't blame them. I'm not gonna criticize how somebody feels about um, their health because that's serious right now. You're talking about people that um, are really afraid of being in close proximity to other people, and when you're living in clustered apartment buildings in a very congested city, that's a everyday fear that they have to deal with. So that's another component that's getting people to leave the city. Then we had a lot of those BLM protests that were happening, which in some cases and in many areas in the city ended up turning into riots and looting and very dangerous activities that put the citizens, the people that lived in those areas, in a genuine fear. You're not going to be want to be in a hostile environment. That's another thing that has played another big component. Another thing is the crime has risen exponentially from last year. Last time I looked at any kind of statistic, it's gone up 50% from where it was last year, up to date. Who knows? We still got a couple more months left of this year. Who knows what could happen? So these are all viable components. These are all serious components. Now, then you take the economic factor into the place too. If you're not going to be benefiting from any of the good things that you're used to benefiting from New York City, what's happening? You're saying, why do I have to pay all these extra expenses that I usually? Yeah, everybody that lives in New York City pays New York City tax on top of their already high New York State tax. They got the water bills that are astronomical. They got crazy type of expensive, just living a day to day living in the places. So they're looking for alternatives. A lot of people started thinking of going and living the suburbia dream of living in those homes that have some distance from each other, that have a backyard, that you could be able to go outside and barbecue and not have somebody on top of you, uh, or like be able to walk comfortably without having another 100 people on the same side of the sidewalk and walking up and down with you at the same time. These are genuine things, and these are the things that have helped and pushed a lot of the New York City residents to move out. Now, one of the biggest uh, beneficiaries of this exodus from New York City has been Long Island. And this is why we're seeing these records are hitting. And this is why we're seeing these astronomical type of paces. I mean, we're looking at things that just I could never, I really could never have fathomed somewhere in March, April, when we were in the highest alert with these COVID experiences that we're having, that this is where this market's going to be right now. And the one thing I'm going to say is I don't see it changing short term. We have a lot of these people doing the predictions for 2021. You have a lot of people saying we're going to hit a major correction. We're going to have a real estate crash. The real estate bubble is going to burst. All these type of things. And I'm not going to say that they're completely unwarranted, the fears and the thought process and mindset that a lot of people have. However, I don't feel like it's coming in 2021. I think this is going to get dragged out. There's a lot of different factors of why I feel like that. First of all, the inventory is not going to catch up by the end of the year. doesn't look like it's going to happen. So the supply and demand imbalances are not going to level out by the end of the year, from my understanding and from my prediction. Because the way I look at it, in order to be able to catch up with inventory, we're going to have to basically have 2.5 to maybe 3 homes hit the market for everyone that sells, and that's not happening right now. And I don't think that's going to happen in November. People want to have their Thanksgiving at home, and Christmas time and Hanukkah time and New Year's time. I don't think that's going to happen, especially if they're going to want to enjoy their home with their families and that kind of a thing. Don't see it happening as far as major influx of inventory hitting the market. Maybe I'm wrong. Time will tell. However, realistically, we're probably going to see the catch up in inventory by the end of 2021. I really believe. Let's say I'm wrong on that one. Then we got another thing that's been driving buyers to come out rapidly, and this is nationwide. The rates are still historically low. We're looking at interest rates like we've never seen before. And as long as those interest rates are dangled out there and money is cheap to borrow, people are going to continuously buying. Even if they're paying a little bit more than they thought they would, they're going to continuously buy. Because the other thing is, the low rates have increased their buying power. That's another thing that I'm looking at, that I I strongly believe that is going to be a factor. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on that one too. Here's something else that you're going to have a hard time um, arguing with me about. Are people going to feel more confident and and forget so quickly about the lockdowns that we had and about the pandemic that we're currently going through? Because it's not over. I mean, this coronavirus situation is still going on as we speak. Are they going to say, okay, now I feel good, I'm going back in the city? It's going to take a while. This is going to take months for people to psychologically get themselves into gear and get themselves back in place. And just one moment and a little side note, for everybody that might be thinking I'm putting this video together as a propaganda or some type of promotional type of thing, to promote like Long Island and that kind of stuff we're selling. I sell stuff in the city. I sell stuff in Queens. I sell stuff in Brooklyn. I sell stuff on the island. So it all affects me on a personal level. I don't want to see one market get destroyed for another market's benefit. I'd rather sell everything even keel across the board. So just as a side note, keep that in mind. I don't want to see certain areas get completely devalued, or a hysteria of running from one side of the state to the other, because the truth be said is it's not healthy. We need a thriving New York City in order to keep the rest of the state going. If we don't have that, we're going to have a problem going forward. And that's my personal belief. And if anybody does not believe that, please, you're more than welcome to comment and share your thoughts with me. But I don't believe that we could afford to let New York City drop, and unfortunately, that's basically where it's at the moment. Now, am I optimistic as far as New York City going back to its former glory? Absolutely, because there's only one New York City, there's only one Manhattan, but it's going to take a while. The commercial real estate is in bad shape right now. It's not what it was. Um, Besides being hurt in the city itself, it's hurting all across the state. But there are some smaller offices that are going very quickly throughout the state, like on Long Island, because of people setting up smaller offices, satellite offices, uh, deciding to relocate their offices to Long Island or upstate because they could generally work from there or from here. It doesn't matter where they work at with certain type of businesses. If you're running an insurance brokerage, the truth be said, you could run it from anywhere you are because everything is done with internet and phones and that kind of thing. If you're running um, a securities type of a situation, you could do the same thing. There's all these businesses that could be run either virtually or from a remote location. They don't need to be in Manhattan. So they're seeing that. Now, sooner or later, the prices will be reduced in the city, and there will be a lot of people tempted to go back in there, and it will happen. I just don't know how long that will take, and I really don't. I'm not even going to predict how long it's going to take because really, I can't see a full recovery starting, not taking place, starting in less than 3 to 5 years in the city, the way at the pace that we're going at right now. Another factor that might affect us going forward is the elections. People don't know who's going to be running the show. Is it going to be the Republicans? Is it going to be the Democrats? Who's going to help real estate? Who's not going to help real estate? Who's a friend? Who's an enemy? We don't know because everybody's giving us the lip service right now. Everybody's just like saying what everybody wants to hear, or at least their side wants to hear. So we have those issues. We have lots of issues going on right now. And it's not a simple answer. But all the people that are taking out the crystal balls and telling us the sky's falling and in the real estate world, I'm just saying in the real estate world, especially in these sections that we're talking about today, suburbia and the outskirts of major metro city and metropolitans like New York City, it's not happening. I don't feel like the sky is not going to fall in 2021. It might be 2022, and I don't know if it'll be as dramatic as everybody says it will be because you have one other major thing, and I'm going to say it again, major thing. In case you didn't hear me the first 6 times, major issue. We still have an eviction moratorium in place. And we also have the mortgage moratoriums in place. You have a ton of people that have in forbearance with their banks. They have not been paying their um, they have not been paying their uh, mortgages, and some of them may very well just pay it all at the end or have be fine. They won't be delinquent. They'll be okay. And some of them will never be able to pay and catch up. Some of them never. Some of the people that are taking these forbearances don't have a job, and they may not have a job anytime soon. That's a major problem. There are a set of people that have taken advantage of the forbearance, and even though they have the ability to be able to pay, decided they rather save up their cash, and that's a strategy, and that's a thing that they could do. But there's a lot of people out there that are not going to be able to pay back their mortgages, especially the ones that don't have a job. That's a major problem, and we're going to see a lot of foreclosure cases starting to move forward. Again, it's not going to happen overnight. And that's why everybody that says, "Oh my God, the market's going to collapse because all these foreclosures are going to hit the market at once." No, it's not. First of all, the Fed is going to artificially subdue it. It's going to happen. They're not going to let what happened in 2008, 2009 happen again. As far as that's concerned, they're not going to make it super easy for everybody to foreclose on people. It's not going to be a black and white thing. So that's one part that is actually going to be um, slowed down. Another thing is you also have the eviction moratorium in place, and you have a ton of tenants out there that haven't been paying their rents, and that's going to factor in on everything that's happening as well. Some of these tenants, actually, there's a lot more than you think, have been working. They have been stockpiling cash. And don't be surprised if some of these people that have been stockpiling cash end up leaving their apartments scot free without anything, without any kind of implication. The landlord's just going to be happy to get rid of them, not even do judgments on them, and they're going to end up buying houses. Watch, this is going to happen. I promise you. I promise you. I won't call out people that actually come to me that do that because that's their problem with what they're doing. I don't agree with it, but you're going to see a lot of people that are going to do that. I guarantee it. So what's that going to be? It's going to be another situation of more people buying. It's going to happen. So that's going to delay the process. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be, oh my God, January 1st hit and Armageddon's here. It's not going to happen like that. This is going to be slow pain. I see it. I see the writing on the wall. I don't know about anybody else, but I genuinely have a hard time understanding how people think that it's going to be anything but slow pain going forward as far as that's concerned. And again, I might actually be naive and thinking 2022, it might actually be 2023 that we start hitting correction mode in the real estate world. That might be the case. I can't predict with certainty, but I can at least think of it logically and think of it in a way where it's quite possible. And if you think about it long and hard, the way I'm presenting it, I think there's going to be a lot more people out there that agree with me than people that disagree with me. It's just what it is. You know, I feel really bad for a lot of the buyers out there. I really do, because they're caught up in this wild storm and these bidding wars, and it is mentally exhausting and it's really difficult for a lot of people. Nobody wants to be constantly rejected. You put in offer after offer on multiple houses at a time, and you keep getting rejected over and over again because the offers just keep going up higher and higher, and you have houses that are selling for $10,000 over asking price, 20, 30, 40. You're getting multiple cases like this, and it's happening every day. And some people are going in with their best offers to not lose their place, and they still lose them. It's heartbreaking, especially for people who just want to get to this is not an easy process. I'll tell you what, it'll be a memory building process, and they'll never forget this whole situation. I think they'll want to forget it, but it's definitely not going to be a wonderful experience, and it's not a wonderful experience for the people that are currently living it. Now, if you're a seller, oh my God, you got all the leverage in the world. They quoted me in the Newsday on the article that they wrote as far as my mindset as far as the sellers are concerned. And here's what it is. You have a lot of sellers out there that are saying, maybe I should wait a little bit. I think the market's going to go even higher. Oh, maybe it's not the right time. If you're thinking about selling and your intention is on selling very soon, the market is not going to get any better than what it is right now. It's not going to get hotter than what it is right now. Now's your time. You want to pick a point in time to sell your place and sell it quick right now, right this moment. I can't tell you what's going to be happening a few weeks from now. I can tell you what's going to happen from a month from now. But if you're thinking of selling and you really want to have all the leverage and you want to be the person in full control and sell it quick and get your price and that kind of thing, now's the time. Now is the time. You hesitate before you blink, the market's going to change and you're not going to have the leverage you have right now. I promise you that. It happens all the time. Like I said, it's going to be a long, drawn out process, but it doesn't mean that we're still going to be having situations where sellers are going to be naming their prices and asking for exuberant asking and get it. The house might sell, but they might level out as far as how tapered people's expectations are of what they are going to get. Because right now you're literally getting sellers putting on crazy prices, crazy prices, and they're getting close to what they're asking for. It's happening. You still have some of these delusional guys that um, they don't put crazy prices; they put astronomically crazy prices, and they still can't get them, but they're getting offers, which they weren't getting in the past, and that's making them feel good about themselves. So I'm just saying that if you're a seller, you got all the leverage in the world right now. If you're a buyer, unfortunately, I'm sorry, it's going to be a slow process. But I do um, have a message for the buyers out there. Have some patience. Don't make impulsive and foolish purchases just out of desperation. If you have to buy for a certain reason or another, you're going to have to buy. But if that's the case, don't go throw a half a million, $1 million, $2 million on something you completely hate. That's the biggest mistake you can make because you'll resent it and you'll never love the home. Just the way it is. Now, like I said, this was a last second stream that I decided to do after reading the article. Okay, I don't know. You probably see it in reverse or whatever the case is, but that's the article. Definitely a great read. The numbers I just popped up in there are definitely a highlight, and I have a feeling you're going to be hearing a lot more from me over time because this market is changing every day, day by day. Um, Good or bad? You tell me. Put a comment in the message board and let me know if you think this situation is good or bad as far as the constant new highs and constant demand that's happening out in suburbia. I have mixed emotions, you know, and it has nothing to do for my personal profession because good markets or down markets, I still do my job. I still sell. That's my job. I sell property, but I love and I prefer to be doing business in a normal market, not an abnormal market. And that's basically what it is right now. It's an abnormal market. And that's what it is. So, on that note, I am going to sign off. Thanks to everybody. I noticed that there was a few people that actually signed in. Thank you for signing in. Um, if you're still watching and you like what I had to say, press the you know like. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. It definitely helps the channel, and it gives me understanding that the product and the videos I put out there are something that people are interested in. So thank you for everybody that's watching live right now. And thank you to everybody that will be watching in the future on the replays. Have a great night. Let's see if I can turn this off.